Hey guys, Angel here with my second analysis video. We're going to be going over another one of my games. It's kind of back and forth. I'm playing a Warden though, so it's not one of my best classes. This is a really good opportunity to go over bad plays that I make and how to improve upon them and what I should look to do in the future. Although, because I'm going to be also brawling in the middle a little bit, which is just cleaving through minions, I'm going to be holding points, which is kind of what the Vanguard does. I'm going to be going over the whole Dominion aspect of the game as well, looking at it from a critical point of view as though this were a competitive game, and I'm trying to get the best advantage that I can. So, first thing I want to mention, though, for those of you that might not know about it, is Vanguards and some of the heavier classes, which generally refer to the tanks, and I think the Nobushi can actually do it as well. They get additional points for cleaving through minions and holding points. For example, when you kill a soldier, just one of the generic soldiers, as anybody, you get a single point of experience and a single point toward your team's score. With a Vanguard, or somebody who has a renown that specializes for it, you get 2 points towards your experience. You still only get 1 towards your overall team score, but it helps you gain your own experience faster. That's really important on people like the Warden here, because one of his passives that you can opt to take gives you stamina and health back every time you kill a soldier. And that really helps not only for just sustaining yourself without having to run back to point A or C or whatever one is on your side of the map, but it helps when you're in the middle, because with your cleave attacks or any wide swinging attacks, if you hit a minion, it will give you a small amount of health back. So the first thing we did here was we pushed to point C, and we took that from them. That's really good, because in a vacuum, if I'm not distracted or I'm paying attention correctly, that means that they'll either come to me first, and I'll be able to tell them how many are heading towards me, or they'll head around the side of the map. And I could either see them moving to the portions of the map and call out their positioning so that we can react accordingly, or I can just flat out assume, because there's been a respawn wave, that if I have 2 fighting me and it's been like 10 seconds of seeing anybody, that there's 1 or 2 on the map unattended. But what I do here is I actually chase off the point to help my friend, who actually doesn't need it. One of them dies. That's not my friend on Discord, but that is a teammate of mine. One of them falls, but my friend actually was completely fine with this fight. He was doing the correct thing of backing off and letting revenge run out, but I came over and helped him out. Their Orochi comes up and tries to buy time. I think he just wanted to pick a fight, and then he saw there were 2 of us, and he winds up leaving. But what he winds up actually doing is just buying time, whether he intended to or not, and that prevents me from getting back on the point, and they capture this point back, which, like I said in my other video, in a public game is not that huge of a deal, because you're having fun, you're not trying your hardest to win, even though you probably are trying and putting forth effort towards winning. But I'm taking these videos from a critical standpoint of what I believe could be done in the best case scenario to give yourself the biggest chance at a ranked victory. And me chasing off the point here, we actually wind up losing this point because he buys enough time. And that's bad because, well, you lose a point. I don't really need to explain why that's bad, but you'd much rather fight in the point and have it be neutral. That way it's providing neither team points, than have them take the point before you get back on it. It's a little small thing where it just makes a few points difference here or there, but there's plenty of times I've seen, and I'll point out in my videos, where somebody dies right as the game goes into breaking, which, if you would have stood on a point for a little longer instead of fighting off of the point, may have made the difference in that person being able to respawn or not, which can come down to a pretty big issue. So it's a 2-on-2 here. We both pick an opponent and we're kind of dealing with them, which is, it's a pretty decent way to go about it. I don't want to say it's the best, but it's a pretty fair way to go about it, so long as we can keep from having our allies' opponent, air quotes, start dealing damage to us. Because this guy was in a fight with us before, and then he started blocking again, he got revenge, though. And I'm completely over-aggressive, and it cost us this point. So, he's attacking me. I missed 2 blocks I missed 2 defensive actions completely. I don't know if I tried to attack there. I don't know if I just was falling behind, but whatever happened, I missed those 2, and I took a big hit for it. So, I block one finally, and I immediately try to go for a guard break. But this guy knows that he has a lot more health than me, and he has revenge, which gives him hyper armor and temporary health, as well as infinite stamina. So he just continues the aggression, knowing that if I do try to get aggressive, he'll just out-trade me, purely based on his temporary health points. And that's exactly what happens. I go for the guard break, he gets a hit in, I fall over dead, and I costed this point. My teammate smartly runs off instead of feeding them another kill, which I say feeding because he can avoid dying there, and he does avoid dying, and if he does die, especially to an assassin, they get additional points for winning 1v1 fights. And that gives them experience towards their abilities and everything. So, from there, we went from having a 3-point hold to being 2 points behind. I didn't have anything to do with defending middle, but we could at least be having a 2-to-1 point lead. Not to mention, you can see based on just looking up at the score here that they have people holding C still, because they're getting a +2 from it. If you don't know, having any player of your team stand at a point gives them renown, which is experience towards their abilities, and it will boost the points that you're gaining from that point from 1 to 2. It does not stack. Multiple people can hang out in a point to get defensive bonuses, which is the renown, but you will only ever get a bonus of +1 to how many points you're gaining. That's also a good way to, though, at a glance, tell where your opponents are if you can't see them. Like right now, on the map, I don't see anything. I see that one of them is dead in mid, meaning there's 3 on the map somewhere. I see that there's 1 at C, so I know that there's 1 there, and 2 could be anywhere else. Just a good way to get a feel of the map at a glance, and use alternative ways other than just seeing them or looking at the map to figure out where your opponents are and where they can be. I wind up heading back to mid here. A lot of this game I actually took. I wanted to try to brawl because I saw a lot of players just running into mid and just cleaving people down, and whether they were living or dying, it seemed like it was an interesting strategy. And I knew a lot of people were doing it. I didn't really know why. Easiest way for me personally to learn as to why they're doing it, whether it's just because that's the most obvious thing that they think they can do, or if there's actually some strategy to it, I figured I'd dive in and try it. So that's what I decided to do these few games. I actually spent about a 3 or 4 game series just continually playing Warden and other Vanguards to test it out. So, I rely a lot on that kind of a move there with my strategies, where I wait for the opponent to attack, and then I'll do a sidestep A, or I'll just do a sidestep, we'll call it, because it's different on every console or PC or whatever. So I do a sidestep, which is left, right, and your movement button, which is, in this case for the Xbox One, it's A. I rely a lot on that to get some free poking against players that are over-aggressive. I should definitely expand my horizons and learn different ways to get harassment in, but currently that's the way that I do the most. And I do need to work on it. But because I rely so much on that one specifically, when I'm fighting people as the Warden, it feels really weird because I don't have that tool to rely on. So, at this point here, I'm out of stamina. I see that there are 2 people on me. The guy who was on point C is gone, and the person who was here dead is respawned. Meaning there's 4 players in the map, 2 of them are here. So, a 2v1 is never a good situation. You can win them because of revenge, but it's not like you want to actively go seeking them out. So the smart play here would be to fall back. Or if I had another brawler on the team, somebody else who's in the mid trying to cleave mid control with me, and kill other soldiers for faster points, I would fall back to them and we'd try to take it as a 2-on-2 situation. I do not do this. I do not think that far ahead. Instead, I just wind up trying to deal with these 2 here, and I get completely overrun. Get revenge off, a 3rd one shows up, so now I know that there are 3 people in mid, and I can see on the map there's 1 at A, meaning that their point C is completely open. From here, where I'm playing optimally, I could easily just tell my team, hey, point C's open. Because I see 3 people mid fighting me, and then on the map here you see there's 1 person fighting somebody else at A. That leaves 2 of my teammates unaccounted for, and their point C undefended. So it would be very simple for either one of my teammates to just run around and go take point C. Even if they don't take it, just to go uncap it and harass them. Again though, what I should be doing here is not being here. I wind up staying there and getting killed for it for free, basically. I didn't kill anybody, I didn't do anything besides waste a little bit of time. It was not worth it at all to die there. But because I was committed to trying to learn how to brawl, I got way ahead of myself and tried to stay there much longer than I had any right to do. So we went from having a 3-point cap and being up like 400 to 45, to being even with them. And this is the interesting part, because holding a point grants 100 points. So having an early lead, like being 400 to 45 like it was earlier, doesn't really mean much if most of your points are actually from holding the points. Which is why it's important to have somebody sitting on a point and to be killing the soldiers in mid so that you gain points permanently that are independent of the capture points. For example, to illustrate my point, they have 456 points now. They are technically ahead of us. However, 200 of their points come from holding points, meaning they actually only have 256 points. Every tick, they're getting 2 points permanently. They're getting 2 points that are added to their permanent score, which is a score that, can't vanish by grabbing or losing, by holding, losing, or anything to deal with points. We only have 100 left from that, and it's in contention right now. It's being contested, as you can see actually right here. So, as you see here, when we have somebody on our point, they actually, like I said, it boosts up and you have 2. Just having somebody sitting on your point, they actually gain a surprising amount of experience over time. It's not, obviously it's not the most fun thing to do, but they gain a good amount of experience, they add a good amount of points to your team's score, you can have them call out incomings and such, it prevents people from flanking around and just freely uncapping points. It's actually a lot more important than it seems, just because it's not the most glorious job to do. For example, when we had point A and C, if they went to go push point B, and we just let them have it, we could have somebody sitting on A and somebody sitting on C, and then we're getting 4 points a tick. Whereas before we were getting 2 points a tick. It makes a really big difference, and depending on how the game goes, that difference can be the entirety of whether you're going to get your opponent breaking or not before you wipe them all. For example, like I said earlier, when we lost point C, you can actually trace that all the way back to why we lose this game, and I'll point it out later. But just think about it. We were fighting on point C. We were in an advantageous position, and then I got way too aggressive and died, and my teammate had to fall off to not give them free experience. What if we had just not lost that point? What if we had just bought more time? Keep that in mind as we get into the later portions of this video, and I'll bring it back up. I'll head back into mid here to brawl again. We have it's actually a 3v2 right now in mid. So we see 2 opponents here in mid. We see one there, one there. We have 3 of us because we saw one of my allies here. I'm here. We have another ally here, and we see one of them there, going off to point A, which you can also see one of our guys there. So they have 2 players accounted for here, 1 player there. We have 3 players accounted for mid, 1 player on A. So that means there's one of their team missing. And as you can see here, he's not on the point. So unless he's going to push A and help him get that, I feel like he should actually be on their point C to be generating points for them to get them ahead faster. So right there, I got rid of all of the Orochi's stamina as I guard broke him, and I didn't follow up with it. We'll take a look at this again. He's out of stamina. As I was saying in my first video, I need to work on stamina play. I actually wind up guard breaking him and knocking him down in a moment here and getting a free hit off of it, but I could basically have taken this kill completely for free if I would have just went for this first guard break, and instead of attacking, just pushed him down. Yeah, I still get the hit here, but I wouldn't be able to follow it up with another guard break for free. I get lucky because he tries to sidestep and just eats my guard break. I kick him over, and I get an overhead hit. Does a lot of damage, doesn't get the kill though. I could have taken all of his health for free without having to rely on him making mistakes, purely by getting the first guard break in. If I could get that first guard break in, which I did get when he was at full health still, I could have completely taken all the HP that I have taken already without relying on him continually making mistakes with trying to sidestep guard breaks and such that you can't actually do. Just a highlight onto why stamina play can be so important, and even though a lot of people don't do it, where its strengths lie. So, I actually think I die here. Yeah. I went from what would have been a free kill to dying purely because I'm not good at brawling. I made misplays with my blocking, I made misplays with my kill potential on the Orochi. A lot of what I did there caused probably my team to wipe. If I would have killed the Orochi sooner or just kept him down, I could have transferred on to fighting somebody else and making it a 2v1 situation, as opposed to letting the 1v1s happen or the matchups happen as they did there. So even though we could also argue that my teammates could have done better in their 1v1s, it's much more beneficial to me to look at it as things that I could have done. Because I can't control what my teammates do, but I can control what I do. So I actually take a fight here, which is it's a free kill, but it's totally not worth it. Because just look at all this time we're wasting here. We don't have point B, they have point C, and we have point A. There's a point up for grabs, and we have 3 of us brazzering this guy. We only need 1 person to fight him, or we could even completely ignore him until we get on a point, and then deal with him, because Wardens aren't exactly the fastest class in the game. We have a Berserker fighting him, and a Warlord. Or is that a Conqueror? That's a Conqueror. So we could literally just leave the Conqueror or me to fight this guy, if we even wanted to engage him here, and the rest of us run off to deal with the points. Because now we're losing point A if you look up at the top. So we have 3 people wrapped up fighting this guy off of a point. Yeah, we might kill him, but what are we gaining from this? Nothing. In fact, we're losing point A, we haven't gotten point B, and 3 of their teammates are now unaccounted for. Well, 2 of them technically, because we see that 1 of them is taking point A. So we managed to kill this guy. We see another one of their teammates running to point B. I chase to also take back point B. We still could have done so much more better there. So much more better. We could have done a lot better there with just completely ignoring that individual, because now they have all 3 points captured. If we just ignored him and had one of our players run up to A, they would have contested. We might not have won that fight, we might have still lost the point, but that's less time that they have that they're gathering points to get ahead of us. So, I did something kind of okay there, and then I immediately threw away any good things that I had there. I was defending at first because I noticed that I had no stamina, and then, purely because of out of habit, I saw an opening, at least what I thought was an opening, to try to get an attack in. Whether he would have blocked it or not, it was an attack to get something in. It was a chance to get something in. I decided to take it while exhausted. I don't think I really need to tell anybody that you shouldn't be attacking while exhausted. Obviously, sometimes it will work. It never should, though. So, just because you see that it does work in a specific scenario, does not mean that it was the best or correct choice. It just means that in that scenario, it happened to play out correctly, or happened to play out beneficially for the person who did it. In this case, didn't go so well for me. He did the correct thing with stamina play, but he followed up with an overhead. Was that an overhead, or was that a late side attack? We're going to back up and make sure I don't talk shit here. Okay, it was a late side attack. If he would have been faster on that, he would have easily gotten that in before I was able to stand up. Another thing that I want to mention while I'm on this line of thought is that when you guard break somebody, if you're going to do a heavy attack, always do it from the side. Side heavy attacks are slightly faster, although they do slightly less damage, than overhead heavy attacks. You'll see if you go back to my last video, and I'm certain I'll do it at some point in this game, where I do a guard break, and then I go for an overhead heavy, and they just block it, because they have enough time to react, or even just hold their defense button towards the direction it's coming, and then as soon as their character is able to, they block it. So don't go for overhead heavies on a guard break. However, you can easily do an overhead heavy when you knock somebody down. Again there, another missed opportunity for stamina play, and this guy actually backs off. If he wanted to, he could actually have completely escaped. Because he's playing an Orochi, I'm playing a Vanguard. I'm playing a Vanguard, but I'm playing a Warden. He runs faster than I do, naturally. Obviously, when you add in the stats from the gear with sprint speed and everything, it's different, but naturally, he will run faster than I do. And if we both have the same amount of sprint speed, he will still run faster than I do. So he got away scot-free for having no stamina, because I didn't punish that because I misplayed. And then he got away from me. He decided to come back in and take the fight, but that was not the correct idea. He should have definitely just backed off, healed up. He actually has a teammate coming that could have just completely intercepted me and maybe not prevented me from chasing him, but could have punished me for chasing him. Like, if I'm chasing him, he's faster than me, their Vanguard is going to have approximately the same speed as I do. So if I'm chasing their Orochi, and their Warden's chasing me, he could just use his charging, or his running right trigger, his running heavy attack, to just deal chip damage to me while I'm chasing, and there's not much I can do about it unless I turn to fight him, in which case I'm letting the Orochi get away, which would have been the proper thing for that guy to do. So, this is one of the things I mentioned about fighting in middle there. Even though he parried my attack, I managed to I accidentally, because I completely wasn't intending to, I cleaved a minion with my light attack there, and it just healed me and gave me some stamina a bit. This is why characters like this are made to fight in mid. Even though it's not always the best thing to do, just mindlessly fight in mid, these guys get an advantage in doing so because when their attacks cleave, and generally most Vanguards have a wide sweeping attacks, if they don't have all of them, at least a few of their attacks are wide sweeping, they'll kill the soldiers around them, they'll get experience from it, they'll get health from it, and they'll get stamina back from it, which can make trading with them pretty difficult as assassins or as characters that don't have the same benefit as they do for fighting in middle. So, I'm spamming light attacks here, being completely over-aggressive. The guy did a good job of blocking them. I will also mention, before I forget, that taking attacks without guarding from soldiers can stagger you. The soldiers can stagger you if you take hits from them. So you do need to be careful where you're positioning. If you're standing in the center of all enemy soldiers, you're gonna have a bad time. While they don't do much damage, they do maybe 1 or 2 damage a swing, their swings can occasionally stagger you, which can allow you to take a huge hit from any opposing players that you might be fighting with at the time. Right there is another thing I wanted to bring up. There's a mechanic in the game with throwing. When you guard break somebody and you throw them, the more characters, whether they be soldiers or players, that they collide with, the more stamina damage they take. So, I think I actually missed basically everything here. But he's got full stamina, he attacks, he's back to 3/4. I guard break him, he's at maybe like 3/5, and I throw him. I miss everything. I hit one soldier, and it doesn't do anything, but it keeps him around half. If I were to throw him into my soldiers, and hit maybe 3, 4, 5 of them, I completely deplete his stamina, just purely from 1 or 2 throws, without him having any offensive actions to waste his own stamina during that. So, you want to keep an eye on that when you're throwing people. You don't always have to go for a throw purely because they're going to go off the map. You can throw them into a wall to stagger them. You can throw them into other units, whether it be soldiers or players, to reduce their stamina. Also, another thing to mention, it's mentioned in the tutorials. It's always a great thing. Every character has a zone attack. If your team isn't fighting over middle, I feel like anytime you're running through middle, if your team doesn't have it, you should just run through the minions. I keep calling them minions. Run through the soldiers, the mobs, the minions, whatever you want to call them. Run through the NPC characters in the center that aren't of your team. Press your light and heavy attack simultaneously in zone attack. It'll cleave them down. It'll give you a bunch of points. It uses a bunch of stamina, but depending on your class, it can heal you. It can completely refund the stamina that you cast, and it'll give your team an advantage in mid if nobody else is contesting it. And it doesn't take very long. It doesn't slow you down from getting to your point, getting to where you're going. So, this is another situation where I'm fighting off point. This one isn't as bad for us, though, because we have 2 points to their 1. I say not as bad because it's still not a good situation. Yeah, I have him tied up off point. Yes, we have more points than they do. However, they have somebody sitting on A, cranking out 2 points a tick, whereas we have nobody sitting on C. We have a player heading up to C right now. We currently have nobody sitting on C to crank out equal points to them. So even though we're ahead in points, we're only coming out on par with them for points. What winds up happening is this guy has a friend show up, and then he falls back. So you see the Vanguard comes in, the Orochi backs off because he sees that I get revenge. I still don't feel confident in this fight, because I don't know where the Orochi is right now. I don't want to let go of my targeting to look at him. I don't know where he's at. I don't feel confident in this. So I was planning on running away. At the same time, though, my teammate happens to be the one who's on Discord with me. He calls out to fall back to the point and to try to lure the guy. He'll cover my back. If you look at where he's at, there's actually a drop down behind me to that side that he was talking about. I didn't see him because I was busy focusing on how I was going to get out of the situation. So I just go around him and up the side. It still winds up working and luring this guy into chasing me to the point where my teammate kills him. Especially because now that revenge is worn off, this guy has no reason to fear me. I have no health. He has health. I don't have hyper armor anymore. I eat a hit unintentionally. I will no shamefully say that on Discord I played it off as an intentional. Like, oh yeah, I did that so that he would keep committing, yeah. But no, I fucking just didn't get the block. But my teammate drops down, gets the free kill off of it, and then I get to the point and heal up. I suppose it's another thing I should mention, because not everybody knows that, which is very surprising, because it tells you in tutorials and your practicing areas that standing on a point that you control not only boosts it, but heals your character over time. This does not work in middle, though. It has to be on point A or C. The front line, as they're calling it, does not provide points for standing, does not provide passive healing or points for standing in it. Mostly because the front line is dictated by whoever holds the minions pushed, or the soldiers, the minions, the mobs pushed across, as opposed to how many players are actually in that area. So we have another 1v2, we have another 2v2 up here. I'm okay with chasing him off the point this time. This actually isn't that bad of an idea, or isn't that bad of a play, purely because my teammate is still on the point. So it's not like I'm giving them free capture on the point. And I'm pushing this guy farther away from it, which means there's literally no chance that he can get past me to attack my teammate at this point, unless I make a mistake. So, I almost killed this guy, finish him off, go back to help my teammate out. I swear to God I'm not a scumbag. He said he was out of energy to try to take the kill. So I did. We get the kill, we held on to point C. On the alternative, though, had both of us chased the guy, the Orochi. Suddenly, their Vanguard, their Warden, their Knight's Vanguard, the Warden, he's on the point alone. Even if he doesn't decide to chase us off of it, he gets 1 or 2 ticks of healing. Which, depending on how blows are traded, could be a whole lot by itself. It's another one of the reasons that I'm trying to stress staying on points. So I'm running back to A here because I see that we're losing points. We need to capture a point. The fastest point to capture is A. While I'm already in B, the fastest point to capture would be A. Because I don't have to wait for mobs to cross B. I don't have to wait for mobs to get to the other side and make a front line. We can just cap A. Unfortunately, I didn't seem to pay attention to the fact that they have a player sitting on A right now. When I took a quick glance at the field and decided my strategy, that was something I completely missed. So, I'm dealing with this Peacekeeper in mid, which is a terrible situation for us. We're breaking, they're not, I'm not fighting on a point. It's probably the worst thing that could happen right now, to be completely fair. Even if I win, it's just completely wasted time. The only upside that I could even possibly spin this to if I win is that I was fighting him away from his teammates to give myself the best possible chance. Even then, though, it's incredibly risky to be fighting off of a point away from teammates when my team is breaking. Because if I lose a 1v1, which obviously it's equally matched, anything could happen, then I'm dead and my team's down another player. And we're at an even greater disadvantage on a global map scale. So I see another player come in from them. Pretty sure I got the hell out of here. Got the guard break. I'm spamming attacks, way too over-aggressive. They're all light attacks from the side, which means that when they hit, I should be following up with the Warden has a mechanic in there kit where when you land a light side attack from either left or right side, if you tap LB shortly after it hits or as it hits, I'm not exactly specific on the timing for how to vocalize it to you, but I know it mechanically. You get an additional free light hit in, and that's pretty important. If you play Warden and you don't know that mechanic, I would suggest going into the custom, just fighting a mob or fighting a bot and testing it out yourself. But again, I decided to take a fight off point. Thank God my teammates were competent. Not even my non-Discord teammates were pretty good and were competent in this, because while I'm wasting time in mid, it's a beneficial thing that I was winning. For example, it's one of those situations where if I pick this fight in mid and I win, and then we win because I got that, I held 2 people, I killed 2 people, I wasted the time, then that was a good play. Wow, that's an amazing play. How did he know to do that? Wow, etc. But if I die, it's like, well, yeah, you were in a 1v2 off point without a teammate in a breaking situation. What the hell were you thinking? So, plays like that and situations like that, while they can turn out beneficial, are incredibly risky to take. And obviously, when you're doing something with competitive mindset, you want to get as big of an advantage as you can with as little risk as possible. Risk is still necessary, because when you meet a player of equal skill, you're not going to win without taking a risk. It's not how that happens. But you need to try to minimize the risks you can take. You have to minimize the risks you're taking while maximizing the effectiveness of the risk you're taking. Or of your play in general. I'm fighting another guy off point. I miss my attack and I finally die. I got really lucky, like I said, that my teammates were competent, because I took 2 1v1s off points, meaning there was nothing to gain by winning. They weren't breaking. I have all of my experience for my character. There is literally nothing to gain by winning. I won one of them, thank God, and I won that one while we were breaking. The second one I lost. I misplayed, outplayed myself, he outplayed me, however you want to put it. I made an incorrect move, and I lost. I got lucky, though, because my teammates are actually pretty solid. So when we hit breaking, I'm already dead, and I come back. It could have easily just been that my teammates didn't capture the point in time or something, or anything like that, and I just stayed dead because I made a bad decision. So, when taking fights off points, while it can sometimes be beneficial, you need to be incredibly careful with your decisions and how you're going to go about it. See, now, in the mid game, I would say this is a problem. That we have 1 point being capped, and 3 of us are on it fighting 1 person. In the early and mid game, I would say this is an issue. But now that we're breaking, we need to have as much of a chance as possible. While, yes, we are giving this guy revenge, and if we misplay it, that can be more detrimental to us than helpful, the fact that we're putting most of our power here together and forcing them to deal with us is, in my opinion, a good way to go about things. Because that way we have everybody together, we can cover each other better, we can make more actual plays than if we were all spread apart trying to take 1v1s. For example, this is where abilities for Dominion come in. For example, like the Knight's Catapult. If we're all fighting together as 5, or as 4, and they have, like, all 4 of them come in, technically it's an equals fight. But abilities, like the Catapult, like the arrow volley, the thrown axes, the crossbows, the bows, all of that come into play to make working with teammates much more beneficial. For example, in the mid-game, a 1v2, using 2 of us to fight 1 of them could be bad, because that means he's tying us up on a point where we're not needed. There's a whole bunch of different variables that go in that could make it either a good or a bad situation. But here, all we need to worry about is, first, not dying, 2, putting them in breaking. That is our only goals now. No longer have to worry about being efficient with points. We don't have to worry about pushing mid. We don't have to worry about killing minions. We have to worry about not dying and getting as many points as we can until we get to 1,000 points. Those are our two objectives now. All other map-based mechanics basically go out of the window. And because of that, fighting in a 2v1 now is better for us because now we can abuse abilities to land that one kill to help us get to the 1,000 point mark. Whereas before, just getting that one kill might not be as important. It still comes down to... Before getting that one kill might not be as important. Now, because we're so close to being at breaking, or now that they're so close to being at breaking, and now that we are at breaking, it's much more important to make sure that we don't lose any fights. Here is the opposite end of that coin, where I said having all of us in one area fighting one person gives us a pretty good chance if we abuse abilities and such to deal with that player efficiently without losing anybody. This is the opposite end of that coin. This is where you misplay and that one player does terrible, terrible things to your team. Oh, also, remember where I said earlier that I lost the game for this team? Even though I pull off a good play here, we still lost the game because I made mistakes and lost points early that we shouldn't have lost because I played overly aggressive. We're at 970 points right now. Okay? We're going to watch through this fight here. I do a lot of blocking, get revenge, use it for the free knockdowns. I get a free kill there because of the knockdown from revenge. I have temporary health. I just tank some hits and go for trades instead of trying to block. I know that when more than one person attacking me, I need to defend myself. Side note, because I actually missed it when I first watched through this, this Orochi dies right there. I actually hit the Peacekeeper, but my attack swung through him, nipped the Orochi, and killed him. So I killed 2 people so far in a 1v4. I continue to block, do guard breaks and all that. I got lucky because the Knight broke me out of that grapple from the Peacekeeper, so I didn't have to worry about the bleed. Now I have another set of revenge. We get the kill there. I kill him. I do what I always say not to do. Like I said, I attacked while exhausted. If it works, it seems like it's a really good idea. Like, oh my god, how did I know to do that? Blah, 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 blah. But it's not a smart idea at all. It's way too much risk. If it works, obviously it looks good. It looks like it was a good idea. But in reality, it's never a good idea. Even though sometimes it can pay off, it's better to just not do it. Oh, also, they just had 1,000 points. So everybody I just killed just respawned. This is why I said earlier, when holding points and making sure that you're maximizing your team's point gain, it is very important. If we were to have gotten those points, if I sat on points longer, if I didn't die from being over aggressive and forced my teammate to leave, basically, just looking at what I've done in a nutshell, if I played better and didn't be over aggressive and die, and we were able to hold points longer, or even just contest points longer so where they're not getting points either, we actually would have won the game right there, because they would have all been dead, except for maybe the Peacekeeper, and it would have rolled over. Sorry, they would have been dead as it rolled over into breaking. If you die just as breaking happens, you do not respawn. If you die 1 to 2 seconds before breaking happens, you will respawn. But because those 2 people I killed at the end were close enough together, and those were both, the combination of 2 of them is what put them to 1,000 points, at least 2 of them wouldn't have respawned, and it would have been a much different game than it actually turned out to be. All because in the early portion of the game, I made a mistake, and we lost a point that we didn't need to lose. So I get 2 reses here. I'm hyped. I'm really excited. I res the first guy, he goes res the second guy, and I'm off to go dispense justice for the Pope. And I have way too much momentum going right now. From that 1v4, I have adrenaline going, and I'm definitely not thinking correctly. So what's the first thing I do? I jump into a 1v2. I'll give you a cookie if you can explain to me why this is a bad idea. We're breaking, they're breaking. I just got a good play and got 2 of my teammates back. Those teammates have abilities. There is no reason for me to run into a 1v2 solo. We're breaking and they're breaking. The points on the scoreboard, unless either of us are close enough to where capturing a point can pull us out of breaking, the points on the scoreboard no longer matter. Only thing that matters is who dies and who doesn't die. So, I'm way too hyped. I run into a 1v2 here, and I get slaughtered. So yet again, I've cost my team the game. Or at least put them in a situation that they did not need to be in, where it is extraordinarily difficult. And I've placed difficulties upon my team that they did not need to be there, because I got too excited, I got ahead of myself, and I misplayed. So literally, just by cleaning up my own over-aggression, my own over-excitement, my decision-making, I can immediately make sure that my team wins more games. Not even looking at what whoever I'm playing with or whatever they're doing. That's all just completely based off of things that I saw of my own play so far. Completely based off of everything that I've seen, that I've done. There's a nice plethora of things I can do to improve to make sure that my team wins more, regardless of whoever gets on my team. See, now, it's a good thing to have that mindset, because I personally have always disliked team games. Not because I have anything actually against team games, but because for the longest, and even still, it's instinctive, it's easier to blame other people for things, even if you also had a role in that. So for example, this guy here never uses his axe throw. And while I'm watching this game after I died, I'm complaining that he never uses the axe throw, and saying that maybe that could have helped save him. And that's true, maybe it could have. But I could have done much more than just that to completely prevent this game from going in this direction in the first place. So, to review here, pick your battles. Be careful with positioning, and make sure that you're always doing something for a purpose. If you're fighting somebody off of a point, make sure it's because your team has all the points, and you're just preventing them from assisting their team in taking a point back. There has to be a reason for everything. Like, there were plenty of times during this game where I said that I was off points for no reason, or I did things bad. And like I said, those actually caused my team to lose. So, don't suicide. Be careful when you're fighting, whether it's brawling or doing 1v1s. Always try to make sure that you can get the biggest advantage you can without taking as many risks. In Dominion, working with teammates is great. Like you saw, we had a really good play where I lured somebody into a drop attack, which is an instant kill on any class if it hits. And momentum is a great thing. Momentum can really do well for helping you be confident in taking fights and winning fights that you otherwise wouldn't if you weren't as confident as you were and such, but don't get carried away with it. Because as you saw, I won a 1v4, and then I got overconfident, ran in and suicided in a 1v2 for free. I didn't kill either of them. I got one of them kind of low, but they had a point they could ran back to and heal. I suicided for free because I was overly excited. So, be sure to try to think things through as opposed to just going through the motions. This is another reason, like I said before, that going through VODs is really nice, because even though I had a 1v4 this game, we lost, I was able to find a whole lot of things that I didn't do correctly, from individual just in 1v1 fights to just overall map mechanic type things that I was completely neglecting, like dying early, costing us points, etc. I know I keep going over that, but that literally is the whole reason we lost this game, and I'm actually astounded by that, because playing the game, I felt like I did quite well. I had a shaky start, I picked it up, I felt like I did quite well, especially with the 1v4. if at that moment you were to tell me that I was the reason we lost, I would be very surprised, and I would heavily question your train of thought. But looking over the game, there's clear instances where I could have done something that would have prevented us from being in the situation that we lost the game. So I'm still looking for videos, guys. Look in the description for the YouTube video will be the email address to send your VODs to. I'll go over those VODs just like I did this one. If you want, I can be more specific about personal 1v1 things. I can be more specific about map mechanics. But for my own videos, I'm going to be doing a bit of both. Talking about character mechanics, map mechanics, and all that. But I don't have many. I only have a few, maybe another hour or so, a few hours of videos left to go through to pick out games. Which means I probably only have like a week or so of videos left, assuming I keep up this pace. So sending in your VOD will definitely help me keep this going. It'll help put more knowledge out there. It'll expose me to more situations to see and gather more data on things. It'll expose other people who are watching to different things. Basically, it's an all-around good thing for people who decide to watch, myself, and anybody that wants to learn the game. So, I'm going to sign off for now. I'll see you guys in my next video. Hopefully I can keep up this pace. It's been a long time since I've been able to do videos like this, and it feels nice. I'll see everybody later.